Hello, this is Dissonant Waves coming back at you once again. Episode 11. I got Tricks
Oh
here. I
yeah.
got Riddle here.
Alright.
Got three more albums to talk about. One's a repeat. One's from Neutral Milk Hotel. It's on Avery Island. Yay! Clap, clap, clap.
It's
Then we
it's
got
what's the fucking thing called? I already forgot what it's called. The thing with the merry-go-round on it. It's like, imagine trying to explain
Carousel?
something, but you forget every single part of it to like its name.
Horse
So
tornado.
yeah, horse tornado. That's honestly a better name.
second one. We got the Australian representing here, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Nonagon Infinity.
I've already
And then,
I've already sung along
lastly,
in the last episode to it, and I refuse to do it this episode.
because lastly, we have a throwback to the 80s Blue Oyster Cult's Fire of Unknown Origin, or as it's literally written, Blue Oyster Cult. That umlaut.
Yes. Because the 80s and 70s was all about umlauts, like Murderhead.
Fake German.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's our week this week. Three very different albums. Where do you want to start?
Which
Chelsea,
album
also
did you two hate the most? And we'll start with that. Even if
It's like this.
you disappoint me.
I think Nonagon Infinity would have been a better selection if it had not been picked after the Avalanches. Because the Avalanches had such a high bar set for like being a consistent song that changes and loops from beginning to end. And to have it here after that, it was not as good of a thing as Avalanches was. So, as much.
Fuck you. So I guess we're going Nonagon Infinity first then?
Yes, sure.
Look, in my
Actually,
in my
yeah.
defense, I have like a whole subreddit that if they saw you trash this, oh sorry, I got like hair stuck in my mic, so fuck me. There we go. They saw you trash this would just whine in a corner. They wouldn't really attack you for it, but still.
I pissed off Star Wars fans last episode, so this episode get pissed off King Gizzard fans. Whatever.
I'm gonna be honest, I quite enjoyed the album.
Oh, looks like Dominic's just an idiot then.
I like the second half. The first half, whatever.
Yeah, everyone
Once
liked
it's
the
the
second
evil
half of the
Necrol.
World War because that's where less of the bad stuff happened.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
That
the
doesn't
Holocaust
sound
happened in the
correct.
second half of the World War, so
That's when the
I'd say
final
it was
solution
probably
was
worth
going
it.
down. That's way worse. Anyway, Evil Death Roll on is really good.
I don't know, just Evil Death Roll is kind of one of the weaker tracks in my opinion. I'm really surprised that that's the song that made you start to enjoy the album.
It's in like a lot of things they introduced early on, like all the sounds.
I
then
can
if they got
I
away
can
from the sound,
understand
like-
some of the songs before that, which would have been a bit harder or to get into. No, well, not harder to get into. A bit more like air. Like I do consider Mr. Beat the weakest off air. That is probably the outlier when it comes to sound as well. I said Big Fig Rosp is a bit too repetitive of Robot Stop. I mean, this isn't some album I consider perfect. I think it's great. I enjoy it thoroughly, from start to finish, or start to start to start to start, endless. But
It's kind of overblown, but
I know. I just don't. It kind of confuses me how that was the song that you got into, like that you enjoyed. I'm not sure if you said enjoyed the most or just that's when you started to get into
That's when I started to get into it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
yeah,
like
to reach
if
their
you,
own.
if you consider Robot Stop like the beginning and kind of like where like the core of the sound comes from, because that's kind of what the first 5 songs are. They kind of take off from where Robot Stop started.
I mean, technically, the
As we
point
get further,
is that there's no beginning or end.
right, but like it's the majority of the song returns on like a lot of those
Yeah.
sounds. So the further they got away from those sounds, the more I started to like it, and they introduced other stuff. But that's I don't know. I feel like Evil Death Roll had most going on that was different, and then from there it deviated a bit in a way that I liked.
Chooks, you want to comment?
I didn't really pay attention to the songs because the whole thing just kind of blended together the few times I listened to it.
That is a little bit of the point, but yeah, I can understand how that it can be a bit of an issue.
I will say I will dock points for just abruptly ending on the last track. I thought like my phone crashed or something when it first happened.
The first time I listened to Death Grips The Money Store, I was listening to it on my shitty laptop, and that thing crashed constantly. And I legitimately thought that it was a part of the song, because the song that was playing was System Blower.
Nice.
Yeah,
so
in
why did you
hindsight,
pick this
I'm
one?
kind of an
Tell
idiot.
us about it.
Tell us about what?
Why did you pick this one? Tell us about it.
So, surprisingly, when it comes to King Giz, a lot of these acts that I listen to, I do try and find out myself. But this one was one that my dad actually ended up pressuring me into listening to. And since then, I've seen, in the past year, I've seen this band live twice. I've pretty much been following every single release that they've done since then, from Flying Michael Eternal Banana, which was the next one, to Infest the Rat's Nest, which was the last one. I mean, obviously they had this huge, prolific discography next to their name, which conquers so many genres that you're bound to hate some of them and bound to love some of them.
It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think literally the album that they put out before this is like an acoustic, slightly psychedelic, but mostly acoustic, like folk album. I believe Paper Mache Dream Balloon was the album before this one. And you contrast those two albums, and they are incredibly different. And yet they're only like, I think they were only like a couple months apart. I don't think they were even a full year. And
Look that up real quick.
yeah, it's a band that there's so much to get into, and at some point, I wanted to start. And Not God Infinity was the first album that I ever listened to in full by King Gizzard, so it kind of makes sense for this to be the first one to cover.
November 2015 to April 2016. So 6 months, give or take.
And that's usually
I will say that
an evolution in sound that takes like a couple years, let alone 6 months. Yeah, what were you saying, Trooks?
I was gonna say this album did come out on my 17th birthday. I want to say.
No.
Want to do the math backwards? Let's figure that out.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
It came out 2017, right? Or 2016?
16.
Yeah, I was 17.
Old.
So I remember I don't know if it's still up, they had a website dedicated to this album in which you go onto it and it'll just be the live stream that they have of this album on loop, and it'll have a counter for how many times the album is looped.
Okay, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, let me check that out.
I don't know if it's still
Infinity.com,
around,
I guess.
but they had that and it was great. King Gizzard have always not for every album, but once in a while they do something great for an album's release. Like with the last one for Infest the Rat's Nest, they had like the Crake / Doom kind of style shooter where Mars Hit a Rich off the album would just play, and you were just shooting rats in Mars.
Okay.
Just online, it was an unexpected release, but again, it's quite common for this band to do something quite unexpected with one of their releases.
Neat.
Stretch my hands. Very important to do exercise before doing a podcast. You never know if you need to go run away from something because you haven't planned anything to say.
I stretch during the podcast because you're just sitting here talking. You can do whatever else you want when you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like drink water out of a yellow
Play
plastic cup.
Uncharted.
Get your notes. The desk around you.
Like, I thought I could just stretch out your hatred of the first half of this album to 30 minutes, but
I could talk about it more. Like,
yeah, well, what? I know you say like it brought to the table all this sounds and stuff, and then like when it changed those sounds, that's when you started to appreciate the album. Why did you like? I can understand it. Say if you said the sounds got a bit too repetitive at the start of the half, of that being a reason for you to hate. But it's really only repetitive in the first two songs. You can notice a complete difference between Robot Stop and Gamma Knife.
didn't really though. I felt like Gamma Knife was like a variation on the same kind of song, but they just put Gamma Knife in there instead of the Robot Stop or Big Fig Wasp lyrics. And then like People Vulture was a little bit more different, and then Mr. B was kind of the same, but had that little weirdness in it.
People Vultures is definitely different. It's like, if you're gonna tell me right now that Robot Stop and People Vultures are the same song, I'm just gonna
Definitely the same.
I'm just
song.
gonna respectively disagree with you.
Like they start varying differently as the songs go more, but it was like only when Evil Death Roll came around that I felt like they had shed enough of Robot Stop for me to really start enjoying it. Because what I didn't like about Robot Stop was kind of the main riff and the distortion and the like. It's cool that it's like garage rocky. I understand, like I appreciate that sound obviously, but I kept thinking about Lennon Claypool when I was listening to this as well because psychedelic rock and all that. And I'm not one to hate psychedelic rock usually, even though this show has not shown that to be true. But the way those sounds came out, and it kind of reminded me of that stuff, I was not into it. And then as it got away from those sounds and introduced new sounds, because like the way I see this is like an album of kind of strands of music coming in and out for different parts. Like you have the whole Nana Gone Infinity opens the door chorus kind of circling through different points. And sometimes it'll appear a bunch. And sometimes it'll appear less.
I mean,
so there's a bunch of different...
it is because the whole album's concept is, hey, this is a everlasting, completely just flows from one track into the next. There is no start, there is no finish. Rock album.
I kind of disagree in that I think there are starts and stops. They just have them elsewhere. Like you have certain. I can't remember which song it is right now, but it was like a song that had stopped like 30 seconds before the end, and then like went into like a little guitar solo.
I think I think you're talking about Invisible Face. Yeah, the song after the song after Evil Death Roll.
And it's like that was clearly the end of the song. Like you can keep going, but like you just didn't cut it off there. You cut it off into the beginning of the Invisible Face. Like there are certain points where it's like, okay, I understand what they're doing with the whole it's one song, man. It just goes on and on forever.
It's not like it's
like, well, no.
It's not supposed to be one song. That's never supposed to be like, Nana Gone Infinity is just one song. No, that's not.
There's
that's
no
not
starts
what.
And no stops.
Just because it's like, no, it's not. There's no start in which like the song doesn't start here or the song doesn't end here. It means like the actual album as a whole doesn't have a start. So if you picked any song to start from or any song to finish on, it would pretty much be the same type of experience. There should be no, this song belongs here instead of here.
Guess like, if that's what they're going for, I didn't understand it to be that way.
That is more what they're going for than one free-flowing song.
That's what the Avalanche is.
But the Avalanches isn't a flow from like finish to end or the start or begin anywhere. The Avalanches is more of just a mix.
You gonna say Tricks?
As an aside, the Nonagon Infinity website where it just plays infinitely is still up. It
Ah,
just does not work on mobile.
I would,
Is it just nonagoninfinity.com?
yeah, I would search it up, but
Yeah.
it would play inside this stuff, and I'm not gonna risk any copyright strikes on here.
This thing isn't monetized, man.
Yeah, you still get copyright strikes there.
Yeah,
Monetization doesn't actually matter when it comes to copyright law. It is an incentive for more like a company is more incentivized to go for something that is making money than something that is just there for the sake of being there. But monetization or just making money off a product doesn't matter for copyright law. It's one of the few laws I know.
Anyway, what I guess I understood from this album going into it, and like from what I had read about it, was that it was supposed to be kind of this, it could start anywhere, and it'll be just kind of the same loop. And I guess now what you're saying about, okay, that doesn't mean that there can't be stops or pauses or whatever. I guess sense in that you could start from any song, not necessarily any beat.
Just to go off topic for a bit. So for some reason I just decided to pick up a label off my desk, and I didn't realize what this label was for a while, but now that I actually look at it, for some reason I have a condom label just casually on my desk. I should really clean up more.
Yeah.
You should. Well, I guess.
At least I'm protected though.
Anything else you want to say before I continue my analysis?
I mean, if people haven't, for anyone who hasn't heard King Gizzard before, there is some. I know with a lot of bands, it's always like, "Oh, where should I start?" And I personally started at this album, and that was enough to drag me in. If you're into garage rock, you will like this album. If you're not really into it, or if a real kind of, because this album does get quite repetitive, and that is one of its issues. I do not deny the repetitive nature of this, especially in the first two songs. But it is an incredibly consistent effort. The only song that I could say probably doesn't fit off here is Mr. Beat, but it still flows into it well enough that there's no reason to really take it out. I personally don't enjoy Evil Death Roll that much, but I mean, it's not really any bad song off here. It is a good starting point for King Gizzard because they do have quite a large psychedelic rock throughout a lot of their albums. But you can just start anywhere, and if this album doesn't grab you, you might be a more Flying Like Eternal Banana. You might even just like Paper Mache Dream Balloon, and that's literally fucking it. But no matter what Dominic says, the first half of this album is good. Gamma Knife is a banger.
Say that. Say that.
Were you gonna say more, Dominic?
Yes,
or I mean,
I would like to hear more from Tricks, but
I mean, that's pretty much just. I enjoyed it. It just felt like one big song. I'd definitely listen to it more again. I'll probably end up listening to more King Gizzard. I quite enjoyed it.
I've still got a bit of their discography that would be talked about. Back in the day, I thought Nonagon Infinity was their best record, but now there's kind of like enough of their albums that I think are probably their best effort that I'm not sure. Like, Flying Like Eternal Banana is definitely, in my opinion, the same level of quality of Nonagon Infinity. There's some other albums that I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about, like Polygon Runnerland.
I think if there's going to be any two acts that we're going to come back to again and again, it's probably going to be this and Of Montreal. That's my guess.
Well, I think there's
because they both have a lot of albums.
And of Montreal, although probably not as much genre changes as King Gizzard, do change up their sound quite a bit, don't they?
Montreal changes their sound almost every album.
Yeah, like, I've been listening. I said I've been listening to Satanic Panic in the Attic. I'm really digging
They
that
listen to
album.
Cherry Peel as well.
Yeah, that one I didn't really like too much. It just felt like a rehashing of like the Beatles. Like if that makes any sense.
I
The
still
Twee Beatles,
need
yes.
to give Skeletal Lamping the full listen.
We'll get to all that eventually, and I would like
Yeah.
to get to more of King Gizzard, just kind of play them off each other as kind of this eternal duel, maybe. Because I think there's stuff to pick up in each of them. This album wasn't for me, you know, but there might be other albums I like more, like you said. I think if I start with a different Montreal song, that might not have been the one for you two.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
I mean, I gave you the choice of 2016 or 2017. Could have been Nonagon, could have been Flying Like Eternal. You chose Nonagon.
We'll get to the choice that you made for me
It's
later
your
this
fault.
episode.
It's your fault. It's your fault. It's all your fault.
One for one.
It's
Or
all
one for
your
one.
fault.
Or one for one.
Anyway, there's probably not much more to say about this album. I like it. I like it though.
It's a good album.
I think garage rock. I don't see the whole metal description that they put in there.
There's always a bunch of descriptions that gets put into albums that don't really actually exist. It's not really a metal album. It's really only just garage rock. Shall we get into?
You know what else isn't really a metal
Rush used to be
album?
considered heavy metal.
Shall we get into favorites?
You know what else isn't a metal album? Oh yeah, we can do that first.
Yeah.
I was gonna segue effortlessly, but we can do this first.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just say that for me, Evil Death Roll Onward is the part that I liked. The first 5 songs I did not like.
So you don't have a
If you want to say, I will say Evil Death Roll is my favorite because that's when I started to like it, and probably Big Fig Wasp was the part I liked the least because it was very repetitive. The Drobot Stop.
See, I can agree with the least favorite on that though.
It's like I also like Invisible Face. I really liked Wawa as well, and Road Train was really cool. Road Train was a good ending.
Yeah, I think Road Train is probably the most underappreciated song off this album. Seeing them live back at the end of 2018, they how they do a lot of their live performances is that they kind of grab segments of albums, do that as a live performance, and then that's how they did it. So they would have here's the Microternal Banana part, here's the Polygon Runnerland part, and sometimes they'll have other parts kind of just in between. Like last time I saw them, they did a lot of their last 2 albums, which they released this year. A lot of those segments, and I was lucky enough to catch them do the Nonagon segment where they would go from Road Train straight. They actually started off at Wah Wah, straight to Road Train, straight to Robot Stop. So they did that whole kind of endless loop. Then ending it, they skipped Big Fig Rossman and went straight to Gamma Knife where they ended the segment.
Wonder why.
It's not that fun of a live song.
I put it on the album then.
I'm Dominic. I like to criticize artists like this, and I'm totally. Love you, Dominic. Love you, Dominic. Love you, Dominic. Anyway, Trix, your favorites?
I don't really have a favorite or least favorite. As I said before, it all just blended together.
Yeah.
I listen to these albums when I work, and I can't really look down at my phone, and so it just felt like one big song.
I'll put my least favorite probably. It's a tie between Mr. Beat and Evil Death Roll. Reason being that I like Mr. Beat as a song more than Evil Death Roll, but Evil Death Roll fits the album more. I'd probably have to do it to Mr. Beat just to be more consistent with the least favorites I usually give on this podcast. And yeah, it doesn't fit the album as well as everything else does. My
least favorite to give in other podcasts.
Oh, you know how with Adult Mum I gave the least favorite to Be Your Own 3 AM because I thought that fit the least off this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's just that it didn't feel like it fit. And favorite, yeah, that's Gamma Knife. Just no debate about it. People Vultures is alright or all, but Gamma Knife.
Anyway, I don't think Nonagon Infinity is much of a metal album.
No, I
It also isn't really much of a metal album. Fire of Unknown Origin by Blue Oyster Cult.
Hi, my name is
Blue
Dominic.
Oyster
I do
Cult.
segues.
I was very surprised to find Blue Oyster Cult listed under heavy metal because it's not. At least this album's not.
That is the late 70s, early 80s for you.
Why? Tell us tricks with this album. Why'd you pick it?
Honestly, just because I've been listening to it recently, I just was on a bit of a classic rock kick.
Okay. What do you like about it? Like to the bass? Because there were some songs that had heavy bass that I noticed.
The bass player is great. P-bass with flatlands, I'm pretty sure. The bass player for Blue Oyster Cult was just great all over. Like even in like Don't Fear the Reaper, Godzilla, he knows what he's doing.
Just on that note, you haven't played your bass all recording so far.
Oh no, I've been playing it quietly.
I think I heard a strum in there somewhere.
Come on, just give us
Here,
give us a good strum. There we go.
Hey.
Flatlands.
I was quite interested in the fact that Patti Smith is on this record as a songwriter, dating one of the members, Alan Lanier. And so she ended up writing A Fire of Unknown Origin, and he ended up writing Don't Turn Your Back. I don't know. Weird how these albums come together with these songs. Because Veteran of Psychic Wars was also a song that had a co-writer. His name is Michael Moorcock.
That's me.
He was a sci-fi writer. Sci-fi writer. And I don't know. I feel like part of this album was at least produced with the intention of being on the heavy metal movie that came out around this time. The really fucking heterosexual, I'm gonna make young boys get hard while watching this or something. That's their intention, at least.
Yeah, Veteran of Psychic War was on there.
Yeah,
was on the soundtrack. I'm looking at the soundtrack for heavy metal right now.
Not really one of a movie that I really liked watching, but I remember that song on there.
Okay, I kind of just aside. I'm looking at the heavy metal soundtrack, and there's a Devo song on there, and I would not call Devo metal.
You should watch it sometime and tell me what you think. It's
I'll
quite a
give it a watch.
movie.
Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. There's a lot of songs in there, so I don't know if it would be.
Checking right now.
It was like there was a magazine, I think, at the same time called Heavy Metal, and a lot of it's just like exposed breasts and like, oh look, we're trying to make the women sexy because people who are gonna watch this are horny young boys.
Look, I personally haven't watched heavy metal, but I have watched the South Park parody.
Probably better.
The one where Kenny just gets high off cat piss and ends up in a heavy metal.
Oh yeah,
style world.
I've seen that one too.
That's a great one.
And I think Tenacious D kind of did a parody of it too with their recent Apocalypto.
Haven't heard that Tenacious D one yet. It came out like 2017 or something, I swear, but maybe 2018.
It came out last year. Last year around this time. I remember because I was pretty hyped for it. And I started watching the animations, and they were just garbage. Although that being said, it had some P and V on YouTube somehow. Even though it was like really crudely drawn, there was still like full-on sex.
I'm interested.
So you get to see Jack Black's cartoon wiener.
He likes talking about his wiener.
Oh, he does
Yeah.
cock push-ups.
Yeah.
Kielbasa.
Eventually, as an aside, eventually I want to do the clean version of their Rise of the Phoenix album because
Like
it's
clean.
better than the dirty version. It's better than the dirty
Okay.
version.
To be sure.
Oh
But,
yeah, but like because they don't just censor it, they like change the songs around it.
So it's like Deadpool 2, the Once Upon a Deadpool version.
I haven't seen that, but it's like at one of the songs there's a line that goes, when we text each other, I fiddle with my anus, I stick a finger in it, and then I frickin' riddle diddly do. Then I fucking got to spew upon my belly, dripped upon my shoe. Gets changed into when we text each other, I fiddle with my bagel. I stick a finger in it, and then I diddly diddly do. I spread the cream cheese. I love my bagels. I'm a Jew. Spread on the cream cheese, dripped upon my shoe. Get me a tissue. It's just fucking hilarious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Deadpool 2 Once Upon a Deadpool thing. Okay. I was genuinely surprised listening to this album, like how many of the songs I knew. Like I knew "Burn
Oh
for
yeah,
You"
this
was
was like one of their most popular albums.
had no idea because I knew "Burn for You" was one of theirs, but I had heard like "Veteran and Psychic Wars" before. I'd heard "Soul Survivor" before. I think I might have heard "Joan Crawford" before.
Every time I hear "Burning for You," I just remind myself of that time in "My Name Is Earl" when he's in the coma. And they try to take him out. They try to get him out of the coma by singing "Burning for You."
Yeah, the music video is interesting because it's about a guy driving to a girl, and then when they do the chorus, he sets on fire in the car because he's burning for her.
I haven't actually watched the music video.
The Joan Crawford one is kind of weird. Yeah, it's about it's kind of hard to tell. It's a bunch of young girls, and the band's there, being rockers in the 80s, leering at those girls. And then there's also some teens getting up to mischief and hijinks at the pool.
Oh yeah.
Then some girls getting stalked by a voice. Weird. Very.
The 80s for you.
It got banned from MTV because there's very clearly a shot of a guy going down on a girl.
Oh. I did not actually know that. I'll have to give it a watch later, just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting. The album held up more than I expected it would be because I think being raised on classic rock like it was, I've gone really cynical about a lot of it. My cynicism, like I actually genuinely enjoyed this album a lot. Didn't think anything was super overrated or anything.
I will say Blue Oyster Cult is one of those bands where you hear about like their few hits, like "Burning for You," "The Reaper," "Godzilla," but then when you go through their catalog, they have just as much good stuff.
Yeah.
That didn't get popular.
Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll, Guitar Hero 3.
My dad was telling me about it. He saw them live and he thought they were fun. Like, he's like, they're just one of the bands that I saw.
I almost saw them live. They were playing at the State Fair. I have met Buck Dharma before, the guitar player.
Yeah.
He has stopped in my local music store once or twice.
It's cool.
I've also met Michelangelo Badio. The quad neck guitar guy.
Oh.
I swear I had that best of CD somewhere in my collection, but I guess I'll have to go find it. I know, I'm such a poser.
When I met Michelangelo Badio, he had to be on like coke or something.
Musician in the 80s. If they weren't on coke, that would be a surprise. Have you ever heard the stories of Twisted Sister?
I have not.
No, this one's great. This is where they had to fake the image. Like, apparently none of them have ever actually touched drugs, and they had to fake the image that they were on drugs in the 80s so they would seem cool.
Doesn't surprise me considering how they were at the center of that. At least in America, like the whole parental advisory label thing, where the senators would like hold up Twisted Sister an example of like songs that need to be like to protect the children, they had to be edited or censored or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like the singer or whatever was like actually like I forget what the defense was, like we're kind of Christian or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
gonna look for it.
they got twisted around super bad for the senators, but in a way that made Twisted Sister look really interesting and kind of a fake, but also kind of like fuck you,
Here you go. JJ French said Twisted Sister had a strict no drugs and alcohol policy. We fired anybody who did it.
You know who else had a no drugs and alcohol policy? Surprisingly,
Do we have
Kiss.
it? Oh, Kiss, yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like they kicked it.
doesn't Gene Simmons has a lot of no policies that are a little outdated.
Gene
Like
Simmons
Kanye?
is a fucking asshole.
What was the thing he said again?
Kanye?
Well,
Yeah.
I think he tried to trademark the devil.
Here we go. So, no Muslims is one of the ones that he has.
Simmons?
In
He's
2004,
Jewish.
during an interview in Melbourne, Australia, while talking about Islamic extremists, Simmons described Islam as a vile culture, saying that Muslim women had to walk behind their husbands and were not allowed to be educated or to own houses. That's not too wrong. I mean, there is a lot of countries that have a heavy Muslim religion or religious base that do have quite these like disgusting laws against women. I mean, Saudi Arabia at the time, women pretty much were just an object, and they kind of still are there, but that's
It's still very the whole context is very not great.
He goes on.
I think
He put on this whole like that's all Muslims kind of like vibe to it, and it was really but
It's fucked up.
this was the one that was really bad. It was in August 2014. Simmons made comments in an interview with Songfacts.com that seemed to openly encourage people with depression to kill themselves.
oh Jesus Christ.
Hi, I'm Gene
Okay.
Simmons. You want to get rid of depression? Just kill them all. Depression is
Listen to
gone.
fucking Kiss, the most mechanical rock in the world, to drown your happiness or whatever the fuck.
Okay, I was watching on the topic of Kiss and interviews. I was watching an interview with Paul Stanley, who I'm surprised isn't gay. Just he's he's just flamboyant. But he was like, there's something like he was talking about like his left hand picking his right hand picking technique and like how complicated it was. And my father and I were just losing our shit listening to it because we just had like this image of someone at like Juilliard or Berkeley College of Music just being like, oh, after I was gonna take Joe Pass's class, but it looked too easy, so I'm gonna take the Paul Stanley right hand picking technique class.
In September 2014, Simmons said the death of rock and roll was not a natural death. It did not die of old age. It was murdered. First off, anyone who thinks that rock is dead is just too scared to look into the underground scene where it's still alive and well.
Anyone who cares about rock being dead, get fucked.
Yeah. Even if it was dead, I mean, fuck, it's almost like you can still listen to those musics. And then he goes, Simmons blames file sharing and that no one values music enough to pay you for it, for the decline of the rock music scene. I mean, there's so many things wrong about it. I mean, file sharing was always a bullshit excuse for the death of music, because most piracy, I mean, there's enough artists that have done AMAs or interviews and everything that talked about piracy, and the best one actually is Kevin Parker from Tame Impala fame, where on his Ask Me Anything he was asked about his stance on music piracy, in which he admitted that his total album sales, the amount of money that he has actually seen from album sales outside of Australia, is $0, and he is not likely to see any of that money because they were all just taken by his labels and everything. They just took the money, and
Ah,
has actually said that he has made more money from doing a mobile phone commercial. So you are more likely to make him money by buying a mobile phone than by actually buying one of his albums.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of just musicians make their money off of licensing their music. They never make money off of like
Yeah.
albums or necessarily touring.
you want to see how Gene Simmons makes his money? I
Yep.
just posted a link in the Discord.
His coffins.
Oh, that too. You can get Kiss condoms even.
Condoms. There was a movie, Kiss Meets the Phantom, or the Psycho Circus, or something like that. I forget. Phantom of the Park, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Kiss shit. But
Oh, cool.
Gene Simmons can buy the bass that he played on stage for 10 grand.
Or you could just learn to play an actual bass and pick it up for only a couple $100.
Yeah, like a Squire is better than one of those Gene Simmons basses. But and like that doesn't even include like Kiss concert tickets and meeting Gene Simmons. It's just for the bass that he played on stage.
Sure, meeting Gene Simmons is just as much money.
No, it's a bass signing experience.
I fucking hate Gene Simmons. I'll
Yeah.
fully admit it. He cannot play fucking bass. He didn't even play bass on some of the albums.
Most of the time, a lot of these artists didn't even play their music. I'm pretty sure that's the good old case with the Sex Pistols, where they didn't even end up recording any of the music that they released.
From what I understand, Sid Vicious didn't even know how to play his bass guitar when they started.
Not really, from what I understand.
But like, it doesn't matter
All
if you know how to
Sid Vicious
play.
had going for himself. All Sid Vicious had going for himself was that he was hot. That's it.
I mean, that's kind of just like the idea of a band frontman.
And like it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, like AFI didn't know how to play their instruments when they started AFI. They learned over time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a lot of bands do that. I mean, I literally went to see Cry Rank the other day, which yeah, I'm a sad boy.
I've never actually listened to them. I've just only heard of them from like a YouTube video.
And the story is that he didn't know how to play the fucking guitar when he started, but like, and that's why he went with a lot more simplicity in his sound. And a lot of the artists aren't these mega talented. I mean, music industry is the fucking music industry. It's at first and at most like frontward. I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is. At its very core, it's a business. No industry has survived because they've gone, yeah, we love supporting the art and that's all this is about. But at very first, like, its top priority is to be a business. That's always been what it was. So when it comes to like stuff like the Sex Pistols, and it's just like, yeah, you call them hot, this kind of sex appeal was kind of one of the things there.
Like the Clash was assembled.
I don't think the talent necessarily matters. Like talent's great, but I mean, like
It's never
the art.
talking
I'm
about
an artist, so like the art part of it is what matters to me. So you can make good art without knowing everything about your guitar.
Yeah, you know, on the topic of talent, you know who can really like shred guitar, which like really surprised me when I saw it? Brad Paisley.
I guess that's surprising. I don't know.
Who's there? Refresh my memory. Who are they from?
Brad Paisley's just the guitar player for his country act, Brad Paisley.
Oh, I've heard of it.
American country.
I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post a video in the Discord of him, Tom Morello, Nuno Betancourt, and Scott Ian of Anthrax all playing the Game of Thrones theme.
Apparently, there's rumors that the guy from Toto can fucking shred a guitar.
Oh, he can.
Yeah, I don't. It's I mean, and these are artists that when you listen to a lot of their songs, it's like, yeah, not really expected.
Toto was actually all session musicians that could shred and play whatever. And then they got together and they're just like, okay, we're a supergroup now. But nobody's heard of us, but we're a supergroup.
That's right, pop.
Basically. Although not all their stuff is pop, but Toto's great. Toto is great.
That's something interesting about Blue Oyster Cult, at least this album, as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
For You was on both of the singles that got released. And it was just like the B side was different. So it was either Vengeance or Heavy Metal was the B side. So
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
they really liked Burning for You, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an alright song. Like, yeah, I give it a 5 out of 10. They might make a hit.
Dylan, what did you think of this album? You haven't really said yet.
I know. I mean, I actually gave it a listen right before the podcast whilst I was trying to finish up the game of Counter-Strike. I know, procrastination. I enjoyed it a lot more than the Rush album because I found a lot of the songs a lot more memorable, like Soul Survivor and obviously Burning for You. Joan Crawford, the whole Joan Crawford is rising from the grave. Was I don't know who the fuck Joan Crawford is, but
An actress from like the 40s.
well, zombie actress.
Also later became famous for the movie Mommy Dearest, which was like a movie kind of based on her life with her daughter.
Whatever happened
That was
to
apparently very abusive. Yeah.
Straight Jacket, No Peace, Pierce, Berserk, Sudden Fear, Trog, Johnny Guitar.
But I mean, in the end, I don't really have too much to say about this album. I liked it, but there's nothing that really stood out as, oh my god, I have to talk about this.
Yeah, it's just like a classic rock album. That's good.
Honestly, I have more to say about how much Gene Simmons is a dickhead.
That can be an entire mini episode.
I really enjoyed it.
Minnesota episode 5. Here we talk about how everyone you love sucks. Although, if anyone actually did love Gene Simmons, you might have an issue.
The music industry, or more than half, is terrible. We'll go through it act by act and talk about it.
If you fall for an artist's sub story, it's probably fake. Thank you.
See.
Hi, yes, I was trailer trash, and my parents they were poor. They only had $10 million each, and they used all but 9.9 million of that to help kickstart my music career. It was tough.
I will actually say the Rolling Stones kind of started off as like they didn't have much money and they were just on the streets playing.
I will say also interesting is that they seem to not mind who's the lead singer. Like normally, in a lot of bands, it's just the one person, Eric Bloom in this case, or I think it's Black Dharma.
Yeah.
I don't know. Songs on here that had different singers, and I really appreciate that they just kind of shifted in and out of who they thought was best.
Yeah, they're definitely fun.
Seemed really chill. Like that was kind of the vibe I got overall. Is they're very chill. They can go hard if they want to, but like a lot of it's just music that's like you can just relax to it almost.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about this album, or shall we get into our favorites? Even though we haven't really talked that much, we've been talking about Gene Simmons. I mean, I haven't really got much to say, so.
Me either.
I wanted to bring it back because I really enjoyed this album.
It's a good album.
Okay, I think my least favorite part, the ones that I couldn't really remember was fuck, what was the one that you were on about earlier? It was the third track?
One.
It's like the
Better in a
psychic,
second.
yeah, the Psychic Wars one. I can't really remember that one for shit, so I'm gonna put that as my least favorite. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sure if I remembered it more, then yeah.
That is one of the best hooks in the whole album. But okay.
I couldn't remember it for shit, but that's probably just my issue. If someone does a refresher for me, like quickly. Tricks, use.
That one was also my least favorite. I'm gonna say that.
And my favorite besides Burning for You, because that's the obvious. That's why I just want to put it. Let's just put Burning for You as the obvious favorite for me, but like, let's do one that's not. Either After Dark or Soul Survivor.
Tricks.
As I said, my least favorite was Veteran Psychic Wars. And my favorite has got to be Soul Survivor. The bass intro.
My least favorite's either gonna be Vengeance or Don't Turn Your Back. There's the ones I think were kind of the most filler-y that didn't fit as much as the rest. And I think my favorite's probably Veteran of Psychic Wars and Burn for You, of course. And Soul Survivor's good too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really solid album overall.
And now we move into the last album of the three, which I'm not sure if I'm going to put this as my number one album of the week. Because I have a couple of issues with this one myself, but obviously there are some people who would call this heresy. It's Neutral Milk Hotels on Avery Island.
Yes. We did Aeroplane. We all loved that. I felt it was only correct to do this sooner rather than later.
Look, I stand by my controversial claims, and I'm just going to put this out right here, right now, what I consider the top 5 Neutral Milk Hotel songs, so that no one has a question here, and you can criticize me for an hour straight. I've only heard In the Airplane and On Ivory Island, including the Everything Is and Snow Song version, because that's the version that just comes over here. I would say 5 is probably the title track In the Airplane Over the Sea. Number 4 is probably Ghost mixed with well, it's a tie. Number 4 and number 3 is a tie between Ghost mixed with the Penny Arcade in California and Holland 1945. Number 2 is Garden Head, and number 1 is Naomi. I will be taking no questions.
Oh, that's really something. Because I like Garden Head, okay, but I don't really care about Naomi at all.
I don't know. Naomi has always just been that one that I constantly come back to on Avery Island. I think as a song, if we go into what's the best part of an album, or like this is like, oh my god, this is a great definition of the album. Nah, Naomi's probably not. What do I think is the best Neutral Milk Hotel song without putting the context of the album into question? I say Naomi.
I'd say Song Against Sex is like one of the best songs. Like it's a really just solid song overall, and then just within the whole.
I hate the fucking sirens at the first 3 seconds.
Okay.
The rest of the song is great, but like the first fucking 3 seconds.
I mean, I think Song Against Sex has some of the best use of cymbals in a song ever. Like just the percussion is just really, really good. It's a very much kind of a quirky twee song in a way. Like I can imagine like a Wes Anderson movie, but I don't know. It's like you know, fucking get up and dance and shit. I don't know. I really like it. It's kind of thing Jeff Mangum does really well. The tricks.
Goodbye, Trix.
Well, I'm still here.
Yeah, no, it's just no sound is coming out.
I gotta say I didn't listen to this album as much as I really wanted to, and going into it, I had a little bit of anxiety almost, because "In the Airplane Over the Sea" was such a great album, and I didn't want this to like tarnish or overshadow it, if that made any sense.
Nah, I mean, In the Airplane Over the Sea. On Avery Island is still a good album, I don't deny that. But it is so obvious that In the Airplane Over the Sea is miles ahead of it.
Yeah, no, totally.
Anyone else who says, no, On Avery Island is the better album, you're just a pretentious wanker.
I like a lot of what Ivory Island does. I like the the experimentalness of it, like the droning and like the noisiness and just kind of the samples and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I like the songs that you don't mention at all, Ritalin.
No,
Like my favorite song.
if you're talking about stuff like You've Passed or Where You Find Me Now, I think April 8th is another one in there. I didn't mention Song Against Sex, but I mean, despite the first 3 seconds, that is a great song.
No one talks about April 8th that much. I think it's like my second favorite on the album. It's not my favorite.
You should follow Tiny Little House's Facebook page. Every time it's April 8th, they go Happy Neutral Milk Cartel Day.
And I think April 8th is super great. Like, it's really sad and depressing, but also just super like, it's a really good setup for Pre-Sisters. B, it's just like you talk about me being really emo, like, yeah. I like my sadness feels, and this is just like there. It really gets it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think A Baby for Pre is way better than Will You Find Me Now. Also, even though it's basically the same song, just split up by marching theme. But Where You'll Find Me Now, I think, is a little bit too long and just kind of, a song. Where Baby for Pre is like the better part of it. Which is maybe why they split it up. I don't know.
See, my personal favorite, the first half of this album is If You've Passed Someone Is Waiting. Any kind of section of it. I think the first half of this album is great, and I prefer some of them. I'm trying because I'm just looking at a track list. I had to remember Everything Is in Snow Song are bonus tracks. Don't count those. So for the first 6 songs, we call the first half, and the next 6 we call the second half. Who would have thought that's how fractions worked? And put aside the whole Song Against Sex versus 3 seconds siren shit, I think it is one of the weaker moments of the first half. Because I actually do prefer Where You'll Find Me Now, You've Passed, Someone Is Waiting. I'd still put it over A Baby for Pre and Marching Theme though. And it's not by when I say weaker, it's oh, this is bad. It's just I prefer these ones.
Wait, I like how Song Against Sex is kind of this super happy kind of jammy song. It's at the beginning, and then over time it just gets more sad, more depressing.
Well, doesn't Song Against Sex have? I'm pretty sure it has topics of suicide, homophobia, drug usage in it in the first verse.
Yeah, but it sounds happy. But it's kind of happy and sadness. Some of the Aeroplane songs are about that too.
Well, Song Against Sex probably I think might actually had the more depressing lyrics out of the whole album.
I guess. Then it's by the time you get to Pre-Sisters, it's just kind of wallowing in sadness and just kind of losing your mind, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-Sisters is just a 14-minute breakdown. At the end of it, you're just kind of left, just kind of by yourself, with the lights off. Your mind is dead. Becoming off April 8th.
Makes sense.
I mean, I'm still in the strong boat that Garden Head and Naomi are the best songs off this album
Great too.
by far. I think you two don't really enjoy Naomi as much as I do. I think you two at least can enjoy Garden Head as much as I do.
Honestly, I like the acoustic version of Garden Head better from the live album.
I don't know, I feel like it's just the one where that whole lo-fi rock sound really works the
Totally.
best.
I think that song
And
and
it's
Sex.
it's that one
Yeah,
where, like, if there's any song off this album to mosh to, it would be Garden Head.
totally.
That's also why I
They
like
don't get
the Ghost/Penny Arcade in California thing, because that way that just turns into that whole kind of heavy, kind of just banger out of there, and it's a real great kind of like it's built up to this point as well that makes it so much more satisfying.
imagine watching to the end of Naomi.
No, Naomi is just the one where you just cry in bed. Please, please,
I've had a
don't
girlfriend, so
leave
I don't know.
me. I mean, it's not. If you've looked at, have you actually looked at the lyrics to Naomi?
Not
I haven't looked
recently.
at the lyrics to any of this album.
Naomi's not about a relationship per se. It's actually about an actual person by the name of Naomi something. I don't know. Check what it is, and it's more a stalking song than anything.
Like Every Breath You Take.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it is about Naomi Yang, who would go on 15 years later to direct a music video for it.
Hmm.
Oh. From like the stuff that you hear and you catch, and from the stuff that I have read, like at least Jeff Mangum is able to write consistently in the same way that he does. Like it's all kind of
Yeah.
semi-disturbing, and he can kind of, you know, with the music, put into any mood he wants. Like Song and Sex, the song is very happy if the lyrics are not.
Oh yeah.
He manages to put his poetry in the way
Mangum's
that
a great
fits.
songwriter.
I don't know. I guess I like for why I like Naomi the best off this album. I think I just like that call. It is definitely the most emotional song off this album because it seems to be probably the most personal.
Perhaps, yeah.
And the way it kind of just slows in and it's kind of just I don't know. I just remember like the first time that I truly kind of just listened to that song by itself, and kind of it just hit. And it wasn't one of those ones that I'm like, oh, I'm breaking down to. I just like really appreciate the song. There were some parts of it that I kind of relate to. It is. No, it's obviously not a great thing to relate to, and I understand that. And I've never been like, oh, this makes it okay, but there are always these types of feelings and everything that everyone always has. And I don't know, there's parts of Naomi that I relate to. Some of them I don't. I've never tasted perfume. That's not really
Right.
Trying to
that's not
taste
really
me
on my
shit.
not really on my to-do list.
It's gross.
And apparently it tastes like shit, so thanks Magnum, you've done it again.
I'm looking at the lyrics for April 8th now, and even there, like it's a shorter song. Like the lyrics are not maybe not as important as other songs, but even then, it's just a lot of interesting lines, a lot of just kind of where Jeff Mangum was able to just kind of swing around and talk about childhood and love and sadness and death all the time.
Oh, there was definitely. I mean, in both of these albums, there have always been a huge emphasis on kind of childhood. Obviously, King of Carrot Flowers is the big one there, where it's kind of like him speaking from a child's point of view in the first act.
From his childhood, actually.
And on every island, I mean, the album art is literally a carnival. There's so many. There's like 4, 5, I think. Actually, you can see one in the distance. Merry-go-rounds on the cover. There was definitely a lot of like childhood themes in this.
Yeah, like I think Not even just that. Also, it's kind of a timeless quality too. I think he goes for like penny arcades and all that stuff. Like it's of a time, but it's also meant to evoke a lot of nostalgia and I don't know, something that can kind of transcend. I guess I don't know. It's a weird. Maybe the way I'm putting it is not exactly right, but it doesn't feel like just something that he might have lived or something that was just something that was from the 70s or 80s or whenever he grew up. It seems like an old timey thing even then. I don't know.
But yeah, this was a good album. I'm gonna have to listen to it more.
I'd say I probably would listen to this a lot more. I know tricks like that, but pre-Sisters soloing at Donkey's Eye, it fits with the context, but it could just be so much shorter. Why is it
Could be.
14 minutes in length?
It's a long song. It's not something I want to listen to every time. Sure.
I got kind of a.
I listened to a Deaf Heaven album the other day and it seemed shorter than that fucking song.
It reminded me of like some like impressionist kind of stuff, like Philip Glass and John Cage. I got like that kind of vibe from it. That's why I liked it from like a music theory geek perspective.
Okay, I can see that. It's like if you listen to like Neutral Milk's like old stuff, like everything is and before that even like it's a lot of it's very experimental, kind of in that vein. Not all of it, but a bit of it definitely kind of more towards sounds and just experimenting with what sounds can do and what they are and all this stuff. And that's something that's still here and still kind of an aeroplane, but it gets lesser over time. But I think this is kind of if you like that version of Jeff and his career and Neutral Milk, this is a really good, I think, balancing of those two things of like the traditional song making that we know and just kind of pure experimentation.
Yeah,
Like Marching Theme,
it's a good
for
album.
example. Marching Theme was a song that was not recorded with this. This was like an older song they put in the album. So it's a little bit more heavy on the noise, but it fits really well.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much said all I can about the album. I'm not the most speaky guy this week. I like
If
the
anyone has
album.
anything else to say, you're welcome to say anything.
Well, I like the album. Again, I'm not quite sure what I put in as my number one this week. It's either got to be King Gizzard or this album. Because, I don't know, they're both albums I've been listening to pretty much since 2016, or I think On Every Island was a bit in 2017. In fact, I might have been starting to listen to Nonagon Infinity in 20. I'm on a tangent.
And it's so many tangents, you might as well.
Tangent the podcast.
Yeah. On Every Island it's not like In the Airplane Over the Sea, which is an album that you can just consider perfect. This album does have its flaws. A lot of them in that last track, however, there is a lot of the times that I do think the album drones on, and that is coming from the guy who says Naomi is the best track off the album.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's a fantastic debut record, just from any band to put something out like this as a debut is fantastic.
It feels very genuine, like I don't know how you can really make yourself feel genuine versus like putting out something that feels totally fake or like you're pushing it or you're overdoing it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this seems really genuine, even though it goes for a lot of things and somehow manages to land them. It's lo-fi quality.
Look, I'm ready to get into favorites and least favorites whenever you two are.
I'm ready.
I mean, my least favorites and favorites are obvious. Priest Sisters firing a donkey's eye. Um, Even if it was just like, say, if it was just a song put at the end of the album that felt like a bonus track instead of contextually in there, it would probably, I'd probably be less hard on it because I could just skip it and just not even count it as a song on the album. But it's kind of hard to do here, so I had to say it's my least favorite. And yeah, my favorite is Naomi. I don't know, I just like that song. Don't fight me.
Six.
My favorite is actually Pre Sisters because of its impressionist qualities that I like. And I'd have to keep listening to Pickle Least favorite. The album was just kind of good as a whole.
Right, and my favorite's either Song Against Sex or April 8th. My least favorite's either Priest. Well, I guess Priest Sisters just kind of wins because of its length, even though I do like some of the things it does and like the experimentation there. But my other choice then is Naomi. It's really long. I mean, Where You Find Me Now is also kind of long and repetitious, and that's one I don't like as much either. But yeah. But shout out to Avery Island / April First, the other song we haven't talked about at all. It's also a fun one.
Who wants to go first if album's ranking? I'm happy to if you two don't.
Go ahead.
I gotta think for a minute, so come back to me.
I'll go first then. So my number 3, unsurprisingly, is Blue Oyster Cult's Fire of Unknown Origin. I just don't think it compares to the other two, and it's not that I'd put Blue Oyster Cult low in my of all time rankings here. It's just that the other two are somewhat high up. I don't think either of these are going to crack the top 10 by the end of this year. I don't know if I even consider them top 10 right now. So, yeah, I'm going to have to put Fire of Unknown Origin at the bottom. Number 2, look, I said a long time, and back in the other 2019 one, that I hate doing ties, and I'll have to if I have to. And this one is so close for me doing that to the point at which I think I might be swapping these at any time. But I think I have to be honest. I think I have to put number 2 as Nonagon Infinity, and number 1 as on Avery Island. Even though I probably do enjoy Nonagon Infinity a bit more, but I think on Avery Island has a lot more impressive qualities to it, and they are pretty close in my opinion. But I think I have to be a bit more honest and put on Avery Island as the higher ranking, at least for today.
I'm impressed because I had similar thoughts, but about different albums. My number 3 for me is King Gizzard, Nonagon Infinity. I only like the second half, really, so that's no surprise there, perhaps.
Yeah, not really.
But it's really close for me between On Avery Island and Fire of Unknown Origin. I think Fire of Unknown Origin will still be my number 2, just because I like On Avery Island more just for what it does. But I really think Fire of Unknown Origin is a really, really solid rock album. On Avery Island is Neutral Milk. I really like it, of course. It's just kind of the thing that I like. And it won't rank anywhere nearly as high as Aeroplane in my overall rankings.
Again,
but it'll still be up there.
I don't think either of them are going to be in the top 10 for me.
No, I'll have to see.
And I mean, this is coming from someone who thinks Nonagon Infinity is a fantastic album, but even I admit it's got its flaws.
All right, my turn. Number 3, I'm gonna have to say King Gizzard.
Well, fuck me, senseless.
I did enjoy it, but I think I enjoyed Blue Oyster Cult that much more. So Blue Oyster Cult is my number 2, and On Avery Island is my number 1.
Really?
Yeah, like I need to listen to it more, but what I listen to, I enjoy.
I'm really surprised.
Dominic getting full free of a full set of number ones just by picking Neutral Milk Hotel every time.
That's the only way it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna be number threes all the way down.
So at least when I get a full number ones, it's been of an obscure album you haven't heard of yet.
I'm trying to get there.
Granted, top 2 in like both of your rankings was from the same episode, and if I had picked Middle East any upper episode, that would have been a full number 1.
I think not this. I don't think next week, but the week after. I think I might have a shot at a full number 1.
We'll see. I have something strong picked for another week after this as well.
I don't know what I'm picking the week after yet, but I've got a couple of things in mind. We'll talk about those later. For now, let's get into what we're doing next week. I'm going to save Dominic's for last because I know what it is. He's told us, but for those who love a bit of spicy drama, yeah, we're probably still not going to get it. I have picked a bit of a cheat to start off because next week...
To be clear, this is all 2019 albums again.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, so I must have got that. We are doing full 2019 albums, except for my little cheat that I'm doing here, because I'm submitting the full Japanese wallpaper discography. Now, that's not too much of a scare to go into, because first off, I'm not including all of the projects that he's worked on, that are like as a collaborative or just as a feature artist, because then we'd be here for 2 years. I'm including all of the songs, no remixes, just all of the songs that he has released as the main artist, which is just an EP and an album, totaling up to an hour and 15 tracks. That is his self-titled EP, and the album that he released this year, only a couple of weeks ago, which I think is better than the Bag Raiders one, just so before everybody starts fighting me again for picking such a shit album. His debut album, Glow, which is going to be the main focus of that, and the reason why I picked the EP and the album is to pretty much show the evolution of this artist from being the high school kid he was when he released the EP to the artist that he is now.
Appreciate that. I dig it. I like the cheating because I cheat too. So
the album I'm choosing is a relatively short one. It's by TWRP, their album Return to Wherever. They're a fun electro-funk group where the singer uses a vocoder and hip thrust with a guitar, all while the bass player's laying down some funky lines, and there's just a guy shredding on guitar. A lot of fun.
Now, before you go into it, Dominic, I just want to point out a common theme, and it's a little bit of a spoiler here, but there's just so much that's still left over from this that he can still reveal it and be a bit of a surprise. Dominic, for each of these 2019 albums, has had an Australian artist. Is 2019 just Australia for you? Has this country won?
No, it's surprising to me because the first time around, LSD was just one of those like, oh, I like Sia. It was in a list of other artists, but it was like I had known about LSD before. I didn't really grab me then, but I was really curious about it, so I was like, oh, I'll choose that. And this time around, it was on a list of 5 that I had. I whittled down to 3.
Now let's pick the 2 that we. Say the 2 that I did not end up picking by doing that, and one of those I'm going to complain about.
Well, I'll say the 3 that I didn't pick. I forgot the other one already, but there was another one I was going to pick that I axed really early on, which was the Japanese House. I think their first album came out this year, and it would have been really strange to have the Japanese House and Japanese Wallpaper side by side. Just going to say that.
Would have gotten really confused.
Yeah.
2 that I didn't pick. One was JPEG Mafia's All My Heroes Are Cornballs,
which I really wish I had picked. I am a white boy, and I love JPEG Mafia.
The one was Tom York's album Anima. It was literally just I had these 3 albums listed up in order. He said pick the second one. Second one with my wild card.
And now here we go.
It is Better in Black.
Thelma Plum's Better in Black. For those who are not quite aware of the ARIA's nominations happening at the moment, she has gotten quite a lot of nominations. Now, whether or not you treat the Arias seriously, which no, you shouldn't. The Arias have been a joke for. I don't think they've ever actually been not a joke, but still, this is a pretty big album to come out of the Australian indie scene this year.
No, it's not on sale in America, as far as I can tell. You can stream it, but you can't buy it.
Where have you been trying to buy it off?
iTunes or Amazon, I looked for like a CD.
Really?
Probably eBay it if I really want to, but
Yeah, eBay would
my usual places.
go with eBay. You'll be able to find it like that.
Look right now.
They stocked it so much at JB's and record shops in Australia. It's look, I made the joke a while ago, but didn't end up doing this because I had to work late. Of when Thelma Plum was during the signing, over at Red Eye to bring over my copy of Sticky Fingers Land of Pleasure. That would have either done absolutely nothing or caused a shit show. Probably the first one.
2 results, both from Australia. One has okay shipping. The other one, it's like $15, and the shipping is $27.
What the fuck? And if I search for Thelma Plum on eBay, Thelma Plum, yeah, I spelled that one right. Thelma Plum, you fucking keyboard. The Monsters CD is way too much. Just looking for I would not pay $22 for an EP when I saw it at a thrift shop for $2.
Really?
Yeah, I should have picked it up, but I think that was back when I had no job. And I would say, so the reason that Dominic has picked this album or come into knowledge of Thelma Plum was because I picked Sticky Fingers a couple of weeks ago, and obviously there's a bit of controversy. We're not going to go about it in the next episode. That's already been
Mention
covered.
it briefly.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's already been covered in the Sticky Fingers one. I personally think it's pretty irrelevant going into the listening of this album anyway, so... I mean, I think there might be some relevancy, I don't know. There's some things I've heard, but I don't have enough truth to those, to what I've heard to really make any comment. So I'm pretty much going into this album with only one listen to it anyway. And my god,
like I said,
that
it was
shipping is terrible. That shipping is fucking terrible.
It was no like jab at Sticky Fingers. It was just like I saw her name on the list of releases, and I was like, oh yeah, she put an album out this year. Cool. Maybe we'll do that.
I put it out from having only one listen of the album. I put out my love of Sticky Fingers music going up to their third release. Their last album wasn't that great. And going just no context listen to the Thelma Plum album. It was alright on first listen. I didn't have too much memorable from it. Maybe that changes on second.
I feel bad that I can't buy this album. Though I guess I could if I really wanted to order from Australia. But like,
I can find it for the week and I can pass you the files.
I don't know. I was like, I want to buy these. You know, that's like my thing.
know.
Is like, I'm recommending these. I'm gonna buy them and like make sure like I take responsibility in that way.
I'm actually
Yeah, like I've been
surprised.
buying some of the albums on vinyl.
Yeah, I'm surprised that even the CDs are pretty hard to get in America for Thelma Plum.
Maybe it's just because it's recent and they haven't done a whole worldwide launch yet.
Yeah, I don't know what label she's signed to, so...
Warner Music.
To what?
Warner Music, Australia.
Warner Music, yeah.
I don't know what their plan there is, but
Oh, and search up now the Japanese Wallpaper CD. First off, for the album, not the EP, because the EP, from what I remember, only has a Japanese release for the CD. But he does have a Bandcamp where you can buy the digital files.
So For Japanese wallpaper, we're just doing Between Friends Through Arrival on the Japanese wallpaper.
Yeah. That's the
Okay, because
that's the deluxe version. If you scroll down to the EP singles and EPs, you should be able to find the EP.
it's not on the Google Play.
Oh yeah, Google Play is a bit of a bitch. But yeah, we're just going from the 5 singles, no remixes. There are some cool remixes, and there's a cover by the band Series. It's just like this Australian punk band, which also had an album out this year. Which, you know what? Because I'm not going to cover it at all throughout this year or ever, because there's not much to talk about on it. I'm going to leave that as my music recommendation of the week, or of every 2 weeks, because I keep forgetting. It's actually going to be Series song Collarbone 2011.
So for Glow, the vinyl is $40 plus shipping. The CD is $45 and free shipping.
Picks
It's on
it up.
Amazon.
I just pick it up from a regular fucking record store. That's just the beauty of Australian music, is that usually it's released in Australia, so I don't have to worry about this shit.
When I checked, it was on Spotify. You know, both these albums are on Spotify at least, so I can do that.
Anyway, that is going to be Dissonant Waves this week. It should be a pretty interesting week next week compared to the last time we did 2019's, because I at least know there's a lot more to talk about with Japanese wallpaper than there is Bag Raiders, and
I want to get into the lore of TWRP too, because they are like an 80s cartoon.
And I've given Dominic everything he needs for the research into Thelma Plum.
Yeah.
My Aussie music knowledge knows no bounds until you find them.
Well, maybe one day we'll get there. We'll see.
Anyway, this has been Dissonant Waves. My name is Riddlin. You can catch me on my website, riddlinforkids.github.io. I also have a YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description below. Yeah, that's it.
I've been Trix. You can catch me at procrastronaut _ on Twitter. It's like procrastinating astronaut. And my YouTube channel is Moonchild, and I still haven't uploaded anything on it, and I'm planning on doing that soon.
You should just like dance with 10 seconds, put it onto the YouTube, and say, "Finally, I got an upload."
That'd be fun.
Maybe I'll just draw a picture of. I'll just take print out a picture of your bee thing and just punch it and upload
it. Dominic, Trix is making fun of me.
I'm Dominic. You can find me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I also write for Tilting Windmill Studios. You can find me there at tiltingwindmillstudios.com. I write for a couple other places here and there. If you want to know my opinions, that's where you go for those things. You can also follow Dissonant Waves on Twitter at Dissonant Waves. We are posting whenever our episodes go up, so please follow us if you want to know when things happen. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, which if you're listening to us, you might have already. If you haven't, please do. And we're looking to...
This is the first time ever that we've actually asked people to subscribe to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do things the right way eventually.
Oh. You can also like us if you want, but you know, you don't have to. I guess it's fine.
Whatever you feel like doing.
Like this if you cry every time.
I cry every time.
Alright, that's it for us. It's midnight here, so...
Alright.
Catch you next time.